I will admit I had low expectations for this movie, and how I perceived the film changed as the story progressed. It's actually not bad. Hey everyone, my name is Max Aaron James. This is a review of the movie Five Nights at Freddy's, written by Scott Cawthon, Seth Cudbeck, and Emma Tammy, directed by Emma Tammy. This movie is based on, or at least very heavily inspired by, the hit video game Five Nights at Freddy's, or the franchise of the game, and it follows a security guard who takes the night shift at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria and discovers there's some weird supernatural stuff happening at this establishment. I only played the first game when it came out, so I'm not too familiar with the lore. I've heard bits and pieces over time on the internet, but I did not really follow too much, so I'm only going to go off what the movie presents to me, and honestly, I was pretty pleased. The B plot of this movie, following the security guard and what he deals in his personal life, was honestly much more interesting than the actual supernatural stuff happening at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria. And I want to say that's disappointing, considering this movie is supposed to be scary and the horror elements were not as strong as maybe they should have been, or did not keep me as interested as the B plot. But overall, even with the horror elements feeling like an afterthought, the story is pretty decent. The movie overall, I think, is decent. Everyone in this movie was pretty good. The performances were good. The girl, she held her own. I think she sometimes outacted other actors in certain scenes. Matthew Lillard gets maybe 5 to 7 minutes of screen time in this movie, but he chews it up. He takes advantage of that, and he stands out. Maybe because I'm kind of a Lillard fan, at least with previous performances when he's in horror films. And his role is not surprising considering it is Matthew Lillard, so to misuse him or disrespect his talent or not acknowledge what he's capable of bringing would have been a disappointment, but they seem to know like what he could provide to a movie, especially a horror film. So it's nice to see him in this and in the role that he plays. I really give this movie credit for fleshing out the backstory of the characters and not just throwing in undeveloped characters for the sake of getting this IP out as a movie to the general audiences. We see that a lot with certain IPs, especially based off of video games or short stories, of creating characters that are not interesting and just for the sake of pushing the plot forward. Here we have a character who actually has an interesting backstory, some traumatic events that they're dealing with that affects other characters who also have a well-developed backstory. Overall, I am happy with this movie, but I am considering maybe that's because I've been pretty disappointed with the horror films that have come out this year, and this one is probably the closest to something I am happy with. Still, the horror elements were not strong. It's not the best horror movie of the year. However, I will say these are some of the best written characters in a 2023 horror film. Talk to Me could never. Anyway, that's all I got. Again, I'm fine with the movie. It's not great. It has a lot of flaws that you can easily point out. It's not really scary, and the jump scares were kind of annoying, but it's fine. There is some potential here, especially for a franchise. As long as they work on the horror elements a bit more, I think they got the characters down. And I'd like to see Matthew Lillard more. Until next time, y'all take care of each other, check up on one another, make sure you check up on yourself, and remember, potential has no limit.